Dembélé makes an unbelievable statement about Mbappé and paralyzes the football world. Stay until the end to understand everything that is happening. The countdown to the UEFA Champions League final has reached its final hours, but inside Paris Saint-Germain, the tension is no longer only about tactics, lineups, or Inter Milan. A single statement, delivered calmly but loaded with meaning, has shifted the narrative around the club's season, and around one of the biggest departures in modern football. On the eve of the final against Inter, Ousmane Dembélé did not raise his voice, did not attack directly, and did not name a conflict. Yet his words were enough to reignite the debate surrounding Kylian Mbappe's exit and what PSG has become since then. Before we go any further, pause for 1 second, because this moment matters. If you want sharp, no-filter football journalism like this all season long, subscribe now. If you believe PSG are stronger today than they were a year ago, leave a like. And most importantly, comment the city you're watching from: Paris, Milan, Madrid, Sao Paulo, London. Let's see where football's voice is loudest right now. Now here's what actually happened. Speaking at the official pre-final press conference, Dembélé was asked about PSG's first season without Mbappé. The response was measured but unmistakably firm. Kylian had a dream in his career: to play for Real Madrid, Dembélé said. PSG continued its path. There is a before and an after Kylian Mbappé. We wish him good luck. We are focused on ourselves and on the season we wanted to have. There was no bitterness in tone, but there was finality in the message. PSG, according to Dembélé, did not pause, collapse, or lose its identity. It moved on. The timing of the statement made it impossible to ignore. Mbappé now wears white in Madrid. PSG, meanwhile, are one match away from lifting the Champions League trophy. The contrast writes itself. Dembélé and Mbappé share more than just headlines. They are teammates with the French national team, and their paths crossed directly at PSG, where they played 41 matches together. Mbappé scored 33 goals in that span. Dembélé scored 6. At the time, the hierarchy was clear. Today it is not. Since Mbappé's departure, Dembélé has stepped into a central role under Luis Enrique, not just tactically but symbolically. Deployed closer to goal, often operating as a false nine or inverted forward, he has delivered the most productive season of his career: 45 goal contributions in 48 matches. Asked about the transformation, Dembélé credited the coaching staff and the freedom he has been given. I've always had Luis Enrique's confidence, he explained. I've known the number 9 position since the beginning of my career. The coach gives me freedom. I try to create imbalance to drive defenders crazy. I adapted well. Those numbers have inevitably placed him in conversations far beyond PSG, including individual awards. Some analysts have floated his name as a potential Ballon d'Or contender if PSG lift the trophy. Dembélé, however, rejected the framing entirely. The Ballon d'Or? What matters is winning the Champions League, he said. I'm focused on the team, not individual trophies. The collective comes first. Inside PSG, that mindset has become a recurring theme this season. Fewer individual spotlights. More structural balance. Less dependence on a single superstar. Dembélé's words did not attack Mbappé, but they did something arguably more powerful. They suggested closure. A line drawn between eras. A statement that PSG's identity is no longer defined by who left, but by who remains, and what they are about to play for. And with the final just hours away, that message lands with maximum weight. Behind Ousmane Dembélé's carefully chosen words lies a broader transformation that Paris Saint-Germain has been undergoing throughout the season. The departure of Kylian Mbappé was not merely a personnel change. It forced the club to confront structural questions that had been postponed for years. How does PSG function when the gravitational center of the team is no longer a single global superstar? And can collective balance replace individual brilliance at the highest level of European football? Internally, the club's technical staff anticipated turbulence. Mbappé's exit removed not only a consistent source of goals but also a tactical reference point around which defensive systems were built. For several seasons, opponents structured entire game plans around neutralizing him, often allowing PSG's other attackers more space. Without that focal point, the risk was fragmentation, a team searching for hierarchy and clarity. Luis Enrique approached the problem differently. Rather than replacing Mbappé with a like-for-like figure, the coach redefined roles. The emphasis shifted from vertical dependence to positional fluidity. PSG began attacking in waves rather than lines, with Dembélé, Vitinha, Fabian Ruiz and Achraf Hakimi sharing creative responsibility. The result was not immediate dominance, but gradual control. Statistically, the shift is evident. PSG's possession has become more evenly distributed across zones, with fewer forced transitions and a reduction in isolation plays. Dembélé's centralization was part of this adjustment. Freed from touchline constraints, he became both initiator and finisher, benefiting from unpredictable rotations rather than scripted patterns. Within the dressing room, sources close to the squad describe a quieter but more cohesive environment. Without Mbappé's towering presence, both sporting and commercial, leadership became more diffuse. Veteran figures took on greater responsibility, while younger players were integrated with fewer rigid hierarchies. Training sessions reportedly grew more competitive, with fewer moments revolving around accommodating one player's needs. This internal recalibration coincided with PSG's most stable Champions League campaign in years. While not flawless, the team displayed resilience in moments that previously exposed structural fragility. Against high-intensity pressing sides, PSG showed improved compactness. In knockout stages, they absorbed pressure without collapsing, a recurring issue in previous seasons. The narrative surrounding Mbappé, however, never fully disappeared. Media comparisons intensified as Real Madrid progressed domestically and PSG advanced in Europe. Every goal, every missed chance, every tactical choice was framed through absence. Dembélé's comments, therefore, were not spontaneous. They reflected a position PSG has been careful to project publicly: continuity over rupture. From the club's perspective, acknowledging Mbappé's dream to play for Real Madrid allows closure without confrontation. It reframes the departure as an individual choice rather than an institutional failure. By stating PSG continued its path, Dembélé articulated a message aligned with the board's strategy. The club is not defined by departures regardless of stature. This framing matters ahead of the final against Inter Milan. PSG's leadership is acutely aware that victory would retroactively legitimize the post-Mbappé project. It would also validate Luis Enrique's insistence on collective structure over star-centric football. A Champions League title, achieved immediately after losing one of the sport's biggest names, would represent a symbolic turning point. Inter, by contrast, arrive with a clearly defined identity built on cohesion and tactical discipline. The final, therefore, is not just a contest between two teams, but between two philosophies. PSG's season has been about proving that evolution can be sustainable. That ambition now converges into 90 minutes. Dembélé's refusal to engage in individual accolades further reinforces that narrative. By deflecting Ballon d'Or speculation, he aligns himself with the club's broader messaging: achievement over recognition. Whether genuine or strategic, the stance resonates internally at a moment when focus is being treated as a competitive weapon. As kickoff approaches, PSG's internal assessment is cautious rather than triumphant. Officials privately acknowledge that one match will not erase years of European disappointment. Yet they also recognize the significance of the moment. Win or lose, this final will be referenced as the first true test of PSG's post-Mbappé identity. If the trophy is lifted, the season will be remembered as proof that departure does not equal decline. If not, questions will return. About ceilings, about leadership, about whether collective balance can consistently replace singular genius. For now, PSG stand at the threshold. The Mbappé chapter is closed. What follows will be written on the pitch.